I'll call to order the Ascension Parish Council meeting for Thursday, August 1st. If everyone would please stand for the prayer given by our own Miss Sherry Kinchin, followed by the pledge given by our own Miss Joan Shivers.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings and opportunities we receive in Ascension Parish and the United States. Watch over our men and women in uniform wherever they may be serving at this time. As we begin our new school year, we watch over our children as they travel to school and while they are in the classroom. Lord, provide guidance to our governing body as they address the issues facing Ascension Parish. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Item number 2 is roll call. Madam Secretary, all members present. Item number 3, Chair's additions. I have one correction to note on item number 11. It should read lot 91 instead of lots 46 and 47. And the corrected paperwork has been pushed to your iPad and I believe in front of you. Number 4 is a public comment sign-in period. Reminder, if you wish to speak, now's the time to please come and fill out a comment card and you'll have 3 minutes. And item number 5 is the Parish President's report. Mr. President, you don't have anything? Okay. With that, we will move to item number 6, which is our committee recommendations. This month we have 2 from our Personnel Chairman, Mr. Todd Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel Committee met and we had a couple appointments for a couple of different boards. First one was Tourism Board. We only had one applicant, Ms. Glenda Shine, and the board recommended going with.
So moved.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Schexnayder and a second by Councilman Kluwat. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes.
Second one, we had somebody that resigned on this Communication District Board. Personnel Committee recommended Mr. Preston Landry be put on it.
Motion by Councilman Molosov. Second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes.
Stand on my report, Mr. Chairman.
Item number 8 is in our general business section. We have an approval of the bid for East Ascension Hospital demolition. Ms. Joan Shivers.
Good evening. On June 27, 2013, the Purchasing Department received 11 bids for the East Ascension Hospital demolition. After review, the Purchasing Department and Mugat Architecture recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from Ronald Jefferson, DBA Salvage 9, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this service.
Chair would entertain a motion. Motion by Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Second.
Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Councilman Schexnayder.
What did the bid come out on?
Page 5.
Page 7.
27 looks like.
They
He's
understand the
asking for
question.
the final
What was
bid
the final
price.
bid on that?
$270,000.
I have it attached. The final bid was $270,270.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any objections to the motion? I'm sorry, Mr. President.
One comment that we had budgeted $500,000.
Okay. Mr. President, President Martinez was just making the comment for those who couldn't hear that we budgeted $500,000, and so we came in about half of what the budget was. So.
Yeah, I was just interested because it's such a a great difference in the different bids, so that's just checking. Thank you.
Councilman Joseph, do you have something? No. Okay. Any other discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Thank you, Joan. Item number 9 is a resolution for fiscal year 2011, Round 2, Louisiana Emergency Solutions Grants Program.
Good evening. The Grants Office would like to get Parish Council approval to submit the application for the FY 2011 Round 2 Louisiana Emergency Solution Grant Program. and to authorize Parish President Tommy Martinez to sign and execute all documents pertaining to the grant program, and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, CFO for financial documents.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Klua.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Councilman Joseph?
The question is, this is Louisiana Housing Authority. Is this is for housing or
No, that is for homeless prevention.
that's the same program that we've been doing for the last couple of years, correct?
Yeah, we got the first one in 2009, 2011. We got $300,000, and HUD want to push to reduce homelessness in all the states, so they give us an additional round 2, so we can do some more work for the homeless people.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Klua?
Yeah, it says the state anticipates receiving $892,000 and
Yes.
some change. And I just want to clarify that our application is not necessarily for all that, that's for portions of that, I think.
Yes, the
What
800 and something is for the entire state.
Right, and then we're applying for the most we can get.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I'll clear that up.
Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 10 is approval of the request for qualifications for the Ascension Parish Governmental Complex Master Planning and Design. Ms. Jones?
On June 20th, 2013, the Purchasing Department received 11 proposals for Ascension Parish Governmental Complex Master Planning and Design. After review, the Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommends accepting the proposal submitted by Mugio Architect and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Kluat. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. In our introduction of ordinances section, number 11, introduction of an ordinance zoning review ID 2315.13, lots, it should read lot 91, Old Hickory Woods for William Rieger, located on the west side of LA Highway 44, approximately 1,300 feet south of Causey Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential RM to mixed-use 2, MU2.
Motion to open public hearing.
It's only an introduction.
Motion introduced by Councilman Kluat and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Is there any objection? Hearing none, that ordinance is introduced. Item 12 is an introduction of an ordinance zoning review ID 2311.13, lots A-1, A-2, and tract IJK-1-1 for Craig, Rebecca, and Ralph Bruno, Acadia Land Surveying LLC, Council District 5, located on the east side of LA Highway 44 for approximately 300 feet south on the south side of LA Highway 42, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from Crossroad Commercial CC to Small Plain Unit Development SPUD.
Motion introduced.
Motion introduced by Councilman Dempsey Lambert
Second.
and a second by Councilman Kluat. Is there any objection? Hearing none, ordinance is introduced. Item 13 is an ordinance, introduction of an ordinance for SPUD Development Agreement, District 5, Highway 42 and Highway 44.
Motion.
Motion introduced by
Second.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert and a second by Councilman Satterley. Any objection? Ordinance is introduced. Our public hearing section, item number 14, reading of an ordinance SR 13-07, amendment to subdivision regulations in the Unified Land Development Code pertaining to testing for compliance of specifications, section 17-409, construction testing. Mr. Parrington.
The purpose of the ordinance is to update the process and timing for quality assurance and control testing reports for construction projects, whereas Ascension Parish is a local government subdivision defined by Article 6, Section 44 Louisiana Constitution 1974. And whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993 identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish, whereas Ascension Parish Regional Planning Commission adopted subdivision regulations as part of the official plan of the parish in accordance with Louisiana revised statutes on January 21st, 1971. The Parish Council adopted this regulation as Appendix 4 of the Unified Land Development Code on December 17th of 2009. And whereas it's necessary to make change to update the existing process policy and purpose of testing as it relates to construction and inspection processes, be it ordained that by Ascension Parish Governing Authority that Section 17-409, paragraph E of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code is amended as the attachments Exhibit A. In any event, any portion of the ordinance is held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provision, shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The exhibits are Exhibit A. The ordinance have been submitted by vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing?
Okay, a motion to open public hearing by Councilman Lonsall,
Second.
second by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by
Second.
Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Satterley. Need a motion to move the ordinance?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Kluwat,
Second.
second by Councilman Lonsall to move the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance is adopted. Item 17, ordinance, reading of an ordinance SR 13-08, amend section 17-505 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, grade requirements, Exhibit A. Mr. Barrington.
The purpose of the ordinance is to remove the requirement of parking lot elevations where the Ascension Parish local government subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution 1974. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993 identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish. Whereas the Ascension Parish Regional Planning Commission adopted subdivision regulations as part of the official plan of the parish in accordance with the Louisiana Revised Statutes, January 21st of 1971. Whereas the Parish Council adopted this regulations, Appendix 5 of the Unified Land Development Code on December 17, 2009. Whereas it is necessary to make the change to remove the requirement of parking lot elevations, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that Section 17505, paragraph 8.5 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code is removed as the attached exhibits. In the event any of the portion of this ordinance is held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The exhibits are section 17-505 with revisions. This ordinance has been submitted to the, for a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open to public comment.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Satterley,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Casso.
Motion to close.
And a motion to close by Councilman Satterley, and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Kluwat,
Second.
second by Councilman Lonsall. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance is adopted. Item 20 is a reading of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential RM to mixed-use 2 MU2, zoning review ID 2310.13, lots 46 and 47, Old Hickory Woods, for Leela Mae Guitro, located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 44, approximately 1,000 feet south of Causey Road. Mr. Barrington.
This ordinance shall change the official map revising a specific parcel designated as medium intensity RM to mixed use 2. This rezone is identified as zoning review ID 2315.13, lot 91, Old Hickory subdivision, whereas Ascension Parish local government subdivision is defined by Article 6 of Section 44 Louisiana Constitution 1974. Whereas the Parish Ascension is the governing authority and responsible body for the zoning regulations within the jurisdiction. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter adopted by Ascension Parish on May 4, 1993 identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinance regulating the lands of this parish. Whereas the Parish Council adopted the present official zoning map on October 15, 2012. Whereas the Parish Council reserves the authority to make changes on map. Whereas the required public notice was advertised on the following dates: the Donaldsonville Chief, May 23, 2013, May 30, 2018, June 6, 2013. Gonzales Weekly, May 23, 2013, May 30, 2013, June 2013. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that the following zoning map of October 15, 2012 for Ascension Parish is amended as follows. Lot 1, Hickory Woods subdivision by William Riga, which is more fully described, revised below, as is revised from medium intensity residential to MU2, located on the west side of Highway 44, approximately 1,300 feet south of Causey Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential to mixed use 2, being more fully described as follows. A certain tract of parcel of ground situated in the parish of Ascension, state of Louisiana, subdivision known as Old Hickory Woods, and being designated an official plan thereof prepared by Norris Geodector CE, Atco Engineers, and Planners Inc., dated March 21st, 1979, of record at file number 168345 in the parish in the office of the clerk recorder of Ascension Parish at lot number 91, Gold Hickory Wood subdivision. Said lot 91 is described as having a measurement of 170 feet on the northern boundary, 202.7 feet on the eastern boundary, 202.5 feet on the western boundary, and 172 feet on the southern boundary. All is shown more fully in a reference to said map. Said lot being subject to servitudes and building lines is shown by said reference to said map. In the event any portion of this ordinance is held to be invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted as follows. The exhibits is the parcel map. The ordinance had been submitted to the vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Okay, I have a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Satterlee and second by Councilman Molosaw.
Move to order.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwer. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance is adopted. Item 23 is an ordinance to authorize a 1 mil property tax to fund participation agreements for the care and maintenance of juveniles awaiting prosecution for crimes committed in Ascension Parish and subsequently to acquire, construct, equip, maintain, and operate a juvenile detention facility in Ascension Parish. Mr. Parents.
To authorize a 1 mil property tax to fund participation agreements for the care and maintenance of juveniles awaiting prosecution for crimes committed in Ascension Parish and subsequently to acquire, construct, equip, maintain, and operate a juvenile detention facility in Ascension Parish. Whereas the expense of detention of juveniles pending prosecution has been paid by the governing authority. Whereas Louisiana Revised Statute 15:1099.7 provides for the participation by parishes through the participation agreements with other parishes that operate youth detention facilities and appropriation therefore. Louisiana Revised Statute 15:1099.5 provides for the ability of the governing authority to levy taxes to incur debt to acquire, construct, equip, maintain, and operate juvenile facility. Whereas the governing authority desires to exercise rights under Louisiana Revised Statute 15:1099.7 and Louisiana Revised Statute 15:1099.5. Be it ordained the Ascension Parish for the purpose of obtaining necessary funds for defendant participation agreement with Assumption Parish or any other authorized juvenile detention facility to subsequently acquire, construct, equip, maintain, and operate juvenile detention facility hereby levies a special tax 1 mil for a period of 20 years to be effective January 1, 2013. Be it further ordained that after payments due under the participation agreements and necessary medical expenses, all surplus funds to be escrowed for the sole purpose to acquire, construct, equip, maintain, and operate a juvenile detention facility in Ascension Parish. The ordinance had been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. I have one speaker, Mr. Carey.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. The issue of the juvenile, I stand here tonight to say that I think as a minister of this community, as representative of this community, that we come together and work as one accord and not put our juveniles in jail or not put them behind bars. Let's work together and let's get a program for them, because we see too many young folks in jail for a crime they didn't do. It's time, councilmen, to work together as a team for this parish. Enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Motion to close
I
public
have a motion to close by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwer. Need a motion to move the ordinance. Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Discussion. Councilman Satterlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of you probably read what was quoted by both Councilman Schexnayder and myself in the Morning Advocate article yesterday on this particular topic, so I won't go back into that. It remains in my District 4 that folks are largely supporting the levying of this tax, but there is at least several folks who admonished me to ask this question. Since the amount of the monies generated by the property tax constitute about twice the amount more than needed to pay for the neighboring parishes for beds, the per beds per day situation until our parish builds a facility. What assurances can we give voters that the, quote, dedicated, unquote, funds greater than what's needed yearly will be banked to build our own facility sometime in the future? I think that's in the ordinance, but I'm not an attorney, and I'd like to hear Mr. Parrington come in about when it says subsequently we're going to do
It
this.
specifically says that's where the money, the funds ought to be escrowed for that after the payment of if we have any medical expenses for juveniles. But the money is to be escrowed only for that purpose, to build a juvenile detention facility and then to operate one after that period of time.
Okay, so we're saying this is a dedicated fund for this purpose, temporarily supplying the money to another parish who has the facility, and then when we build one, the monies will be used that were residual in the beginning to do that.
Absolutely. The ordinance provides that the millage is to pay for participating agreements with any parish that has a juvenile detention facility. Y'all already approved a participation agreement with Ascension for 10 beds on a current basis. Any funds that are not used for that and are not used to care for the juveniles, because there may be additional, the funding that we're paying to Assumption covers normal everyday expenses. If somebody we're responsible for prisoners' medical expenses. If something would occur, we could be responsible for that. But after that, any funds are placed in an escrowed account, and the only thing they can be used to do is to build a juvenile detention facility, and then when we would build one, the funds could be used to operate for the operating expenses of the facility, because they don't operate cheaply.
Right.
Okay. So that's exactly what the ordinance is, and we refer specifically to the two state statutes that authorize one for participation agreements and one for the bill to build your own set.
Right. Well, I read the acquire and construct part, and the word subsequently, I think, is germane to what you're saying, Mr. Barrington. And then, of course, it says maintain and operate. So even after we have one, we can use the funds for that.
Yes.
Just wanted it in the record, and I thank you for your read of the law.
Okay. Councilman Loso?
I just want to say, I'm glad this is coming up. I think this is a big problem in our parish. But I've heard a little different. I know Doc and I've spoke about this, and he's heard from the people in his district that they are supporting it. I've overwhelmingly heard the opposite, and from most people that they would support it, but just don't agree with a tax being passed without them having a chance to vote on it. And I personally have an issue with that myself, even though I know you can say it's allowable by law. There's a lot of things that are allowable that are not necessarily a good idea that don't necessarily need to be done. And so I just can, in good conscience, for myself, vote to pass this, as well as I said, on probably a 20-25 to 1 ratio, everyone that's contacted me that's the stance that they've taken and have asked me to back, so.
Okay. Councilman Shakespeare?
A couple of things. Number one, just to let people know, as we look in our budget here, this past year, we've, in the parish, from our general fund, we spent $4,804,500 in something with our court system, jails, courts, and so on and so forth. And it's approximately 30% of our budget of what the people give to the parish goes to dealing with the criminal activities, which we do, and it's our responsibility. We just need to let people know that there's a tremendous cost out there, and so your taxes right now are going to that. With that, there's no dedicated funding to the juveniles as we continue on, and this cost will not go down in the future, obviously, as everything else becomes more and more expensive. The state has set up and passed state laws that give the local government and authority, which is us, the responsibility to be able to fund these programs. And since we have the authority given by the state, I choose to accept that responsibility of making that decisions. Obviously, in growing up around here, I know my constituents, I know everyone else, but it is our responsibility to make that decision and not back off of it and not use the idea that it would be better for everyone to go and vote on this issue. On this particular issue, that's just, it's state set up that we do that. There's a number of things that we vote on that carry expenditures by the people of this parish that as elected officials in this capacity, we have the responsibility and we need to make those decisions to do. And this is one of them. And we are not a pure democracy as it was in Greece, where they came by, you put the white stone or the black stone. We are representatives of the people, which gives us an opportunity to be elected and go make decisions, ultimately the final decisions for the people we represent. So I accept that responsibility. I think it's a good thing to do. I think we need to move forward on it. It's been probably 15 years they've been working on it, and I will stand up for that and look forward to seeing good things happen. One of the best things about Ascension Parish is that our sheriff's office and our judicial system has been able to keep people feeling safe in this parish. And it created one of the problems, along with the school system, having such a good school system, and people feeling safe in this parish. It is given the opportunity for other people in other places to move here, and created enormous problems with infrastructure. So this is a good thing. We want to continue to make people feel safe. We want to make people and service our juveniles as well as our adults for the parish. So with that, I lend my support to this.
Okay. Councilman Todd Lambert?
Yeah, I'm with Ken a little bit on some of these issues. We have been working on this back in the late 90s. It has been brought up to us, and one of the big things is I'm all for this millage, but we've been paying like a rent for juvenile detentions in other parishes for many years. So I'm hardly and strongly wanting to look at our facility, you know, I know we're gonna put some funds, but let's move pretty rapid on this and get us some hard dollar numbers of what it's gonna take to put a facility here in Ascension, because like you said, we have one of the best sheriff departments in the state of Louisiana, and I think it can be well managed with what we have. So I do want to tell the administration, yeah, I'm for this millage, but I do want to try to move forward and not keep paying rent in other parishes for years and years, and well, you know, we can get move this forward in our parish.
Okay. Thank you. Other discussion? Let me get Councilman Clua and then Councilman Savage. Go ahead.
Yeah, when this came forward to us, you know, the administration and the sheriff's office, a lot of people have been meeting for a long time. We had an issue coming forward. We had the St. James facility headed down the road of shutdown. We had, through state and federal regulations, we had the cost of, if you want to use the word incarceration, basically double over the past couple of years. And the reason why some of these facilities have had to shut down, and the St. James is not the only one. I mean, there's several of them around the state and around the South. It's based on the regulations for the housing requirements, the size of the rooms, the personalized requirements and everything. So, you know, they made a great attempt to try to change their facility, get it back online, work with the parishes around them to get it. That's the one we'd been using. Assumption Parish, the sheriff, he did a great job of trying to, he had something moving, a project moving. He was able to adapt the project, move it over, get it passed, get everything under regulations, and have a facility that we don't have to transfer our young people to, you know, to facilities from 3-4 parishes up the road, or North Louisiana, or the western part, okay? When this came to us, what we're talking about here is our best hope for our young people that get in trouble and get astray is to get them back. We had a plea that came to us with the sheriff's office, the sheriff of the parish, the district attorney of our judicial district, 4 judges, the chief of detectives, and a number of resources and people coming forward that we had to do something. Because sometimes our judges sit with a young person that they've got to do something with, and they've got to try to hold them until trial comes up, or, you know, more things happen. They can't always release them back to their parents. Sometimes there's no parents to release them back to. They can't always release them back to their family. There's a lot of, there's places out there, people that are in trouble that don't have a family to go back to. You have people that actually volunteer to keep these children rather than going one of these places. But I'm going to tell you what, some of them are violent. Some of them don't like the road that's going down because, you know, you turn them loose. We have the ankle bracelets program. Well, that's only as good as it can be. So all we're looking for is we're looking for some help within this system and looking to try to buffer this. I agree with Todd. And I think there's several members of this council that have sat in meetings, and a lot of members of the administration for sure that have sat in meetings to try to see what we can do in our parish. Our first choice is always, just like Todd said, let's you know, we're a very self-sufficient parish here. Let's see what we can do. You know, we know that money, sometime rent is bad money. You know, good money going to bad. You know, you're not going to get the payback. There's position within the last 2 years, things have changed within the criminal court system and regulations that have forced the hand of many of parishes, not just us, okay? I would just like, Mr. Chairman, we have a representative from the assessor's office, just give us if you can, do you have like a basic scenario? Hey, if you've got a $100,000 home, or, you know, what are we looking at for a year?
Justin Champlin, the Chief Deputy Assessor in Ascension Parish. I brought today just with 2012 numbers. Last year, the taxable value of all property in Ascension Parish was a total of $951,983,926. Now, to calculate that mathematically, 1 mil is 0.001. Multiply that times the taxable value. That roughly is $951,000. With the growth in the parish and the things that are continually growing, the 10-year exemption contracts coming off for the plants each year, that's going to continually to happen. Over time, this is going to continue to grow too, the way things are going. And so you're going to see this, you know, more and more. And of course, $1 billion is essentially $1 million for 1 mil. A house, you know, in Ascension Parish, you know, if you have a $250,000 house with a homestead exemption, the taxable value of that property is essentially $17,500. And times 1 mil, that equals $17.50. You know, if you're a business, it would cost a little bit more. You know, if you had a $500,000 business, that's not including the land into there, but just the improvement. You know, that would basically be a taxable value at 15% of $75,000. I mean, $75,000 of taxable value, and would end up being $75 for business. So it's not a huge increase on somebody from that situation, but it is, you know, something that would be existing. Any questions?
Councilman Flood.
Thank you very much. I just wanted that brought out because I think some of us were privy to the numbers and things like that.
Thank you, Justin.
You know, this is just one portion of what the taxpayers of Ascension Parish pay for the total number of court services, jail services, the responsibility of the tax dollars of parish government toward all the entities, including the DA's office, the sheriff's office, in some cases, and, you know, and the court systems. So there's a huge responsibility here. Everybody's goal is that if somebody gets in trouble, if a young person gets in trouble, that we try to help them get back straight. But sometimes these judges are having to make a decision where they don't have a place to put somebody. We've heard them. They came to these meetings and actually told us that if a decision is made to put somebody back out on the streets, it might not be a good decision for the community, for the family it's involved in, and might even be a decision against the parents and the caretakers. So, you know, this is not long-term put somebody in jail, okay? This is something that's a necessity. It's always been a needed part. It's always been facilitated. It's just the low-cost facilities are going away. The high-cost regulations are here, and we're faced with it. And the dollars have always just had to be dug out the general fund and try to buffer it up, like about 5 other items we got that we pull out the general fund that's increased so much. Thanks, sir.
Councilman Satterley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier, I promised in starting the discussion off tonight that I wouldn't say anything about the advocate article, but now I feel compelled to repeat some of the things I said just to be sure that folks maybe hadn't read that or looking maybe on tonight on television. I want my friend and fellow Councilman Brian Lawson to know that I too, as I stated in the article, share concern anytime the parish council is authorized, and for me, and I guess for him, we were elected at the same time just 18 short months ago, that we can authorize a tax without the people's vote. That is very troubling to me. Nonetheless, I have to tonight operate, as we all do, within the law, and the law says that the council can do this without a vote of the people. And studying it, in addition to the people that talked to me, I've also looked back at a 2004 advocate article, and we just heard what their current tax assessor had to say about what's the situation right now. But if you look at the numbers published in that article, there were about 4 times less of a financial burden on this parish as far as our payments for juvenile detention. And that's just not quite a decade ago. So when you couple the state law mandate on us here tonight, and by the way, I cannot explain why constituents in my district would go the opposite way, and I trust that Councilman Lawson, if he's hearing the opposite majority going the other way, that's absolutely certain. But as he said, I did share a lot of the emails that I got early on. I probably should have sent all of them, so forth. But I'd just like to say that the district attorney, the sheriff, 3 different sitting judges, and I think Mr. Claude said a minute ago about making decisions in a court of law about incarcerating some of these individuals or not. I found the night that Judge Lambert spoke in front of us, her testimony particularly compelling in saying that I hate for someone to whisper in my ear right when I'm about to make a decision that we don't have a bed or we can't afford one, so forth and so on. So that's why I was quoted in the paper saying, and I did say it, it's very accurate, we can't kick the can down the road anymore. But again, this is distasteful for me, as I'm sure it is for just about everyone, probably everyone sitting up here, passing a tax without the people's vote. But it's time, I think, that we do act. And again, I think I'd be a hypocrite. A lot of times the people in my district don't want a tax, and boy, they express it vigorously. This time they're supporting it. How can I go with their opinion one time and then against their opinion another time? That I don't think would be correct. So again, ideologically, while I have a problem myself with passing this tax, I have to do what the people in my district are asking me to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Secretary, I'll need a roll call, please.
Councilman Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilman Kulat?
Yes.
Councilman Benny Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Joseph?
Yes.
Councilman Lambert?
Yes.
Councilman Lambert?
Yes.
Councilman Malonson?
No.
Councilman Satterley?
Yes.
Councilman Shake Snyder?
Yes.
Councilman Turner?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted, having met the 2/3 criteria. I want to thank Lieutenant Bill Taylor, the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, for joining us tonight. Thank you, sir. I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
Motion adjourned by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson. We are adjourned.